I was on the phone with a source yesterday talking about the Cleveland Browns. And I said, hey, you guys interested in Russell Wilson? He goes, Russ just signed with the Giants. I go, okay, so you're not interested in Russell Wilson. It said, we were, but, and I said, okay, so that means you're taking Shedeur Sanders? And he goes, everybody is tight-lipped about what the Browns are doing. They have the number 2 pick in the draft. And I was wondering about this. So this is where you get different agendas. The Browns could take Shedeur Sanders. Now, once again, don't take a quarterback, take the quarterback. The quarterback who fits your style, your coaching staff, your system, all of those things. But if you take Shedeur Sanders, now I got a rookie contract. Now that eases some of the financial pain from Deshaun Watson's contract. You can let him kind of fade away. He'll never play for you again. And you get Shedeur Sanders as your quarterback. Now, you're also going to pass up on guys who might be wearing a gold jacket when their careers are over. Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. So you'd be passing up 2 guys out of this draft where you could probably say, if they play accordingly, according to, what the scouts assess their talents, they'll be Hall of Fame caliber players. You don't know that about Cam Ward, and you don't know that about Shedeur Sanders. But then I asked my source, I said, well, what about Kirk Cousins? He said, well, he'd have to be healthy, and he's going to cost us a draft pick. And I said, okay. But he's played with Kevin Stefanski, your head coach, before. He's, been with him before. He said, yes. I said, okay. Just help me understand this, though, because you don't have a quarterback now. I mean, you don't have a true starting quarterback. And I keep feeling and hearing that maybe Kirk Cousins, once the draft is over, and this is what I keep going back to. If you're the Browns, you can get Russ. You can keep him in the division, and then you can decide what you want to do. Maybe you take Abdul Carter, the great edge rusher out of Penn State. So you get him with Myles Garrett, and then all of a sudden you got something there. But if you don't, and you take Shedeur Sanders, you're not ready to win now, but you still get your quarterback contract, quarterback of the future. Then you have the Giants situation. They already brought in Jameis Winston. They had Tommy DeVito. And I kept thinking, okay, now this is where Shedeur Sanders is going. But I'm not so sure because you brought in Russ and Jameis Winston. And I'm thinking this coaching staff and this GM have to win now. If you bring in Shedeur Sanders, he might not play. You might have Jameis Winston out there. If you didn't bring in Russ, that feels like, they're probably on an 8 or 9 game schedule, this coaching staff and GM. Like, they have to be able to win. Now, they might not like Shedeur Sanders. And maybe they end up with Travis Hunter. Maybe they end up with Abdul Carter. Those are great, great players to have that fall into your lap. But that's where I'm wondering about the mindset of the coaching staff and GM. Now, obviously, John Mara, the owner of the Giants, can see through this. Who's the best guy to take who helps us? Big picture, not necessarily right now. Because you're not right now, not in that division. But you have a coaching staff that better win. They better have a 7-2 record, 6-3 record, it feels like, after 9 games. Or if they have a 3-win, they're 3-6 after 9, do you keep them? And I think their time frame is we got to get somebody who can help us win now. Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, 1-year deals, no real long-term commitments there. We're good. Maybe we don't like the other quarterback or other quarterbacks in the draft. Maybe we try to get Jackson Dart a little later on. Maybe Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. So I was all over my source just trying to get some kind of information on what's going on with Cleveland, and I couldn't get it. Didn't know if they were sold on Shedeur. I didn't know if that's the place that he went to and he interviewed and the quarterback's coach thought he was arrogant. Because does Dion want his son to go to the Cleveland Browns? And I wondered about that as well. I keep thinking New York because it feels like Shedeur, if he goes to New York, he already walks in. He's got a really good wide receiver there, and he's built for this. Like, of all of the players, if you're built for the media capital, if you're built for a spotlight, it would be Shedeur Sanders. His dad welcomed the spotlight. Shedeur seems to welcome the spotlight as well. And doesn't always work out. I go back with baseball, and I remember Greg Maddux didn't want to play in New York. Remember Ed Whitson, pitcher? He wanted out of New York. Zach Wilson, New York felt too big for him. Eli Manning was ready for it. His personality made him ready for New York. You know, Aaron Rodgers, he welcomed it. It just his Achilles didn't. And even then, there was still thought that maybe he would end up with the Giants because he didn't want to leave New York. He loved going to the Rangers games, getting standing ovation, going to the Knicks games. Like, you go to New York, you better embrace it. If not, it'll steamroll you. But that's when I thought with Shedeur Sanders, he's ready for New York if he's the right quarterback for you, which I still don't know.